Hello, class. I'm back in the rocker again for our review of Othello, Act 2, Scene 1. So, um, I want to pick up around lines 80 when everyone's returning home and to see how Cassio kind of informs us of what's going on, right? Meaning Desdemona, she that's I spake of our great captain's captain, right? The general's wife, but he refers to her as the captain's captain. Again, is she in charge of him in some ways? Because it seems as though everybody feels as if he respects her and values her opinion. That's why it's so disconcerting that he rebukes her requests to discuss Cassio's situation later in the play. But I digress. Um, Left in the conduct of the bold Iago, right? Again, a positive adjective describing Iago, and most of the characters that he is able to deceive in the play didn't see it coming. And that's true duplicity. Remember in Macbeth, when Lady Macbeth tells Macbeth to look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent under it. When people are going to lie and cheat and steal, they don't tell us, hey, I'm going to rob you tonight. Hey, I'm not coming home. I'm going to cheat on you tonight. It's all about duplicity and deception and deceitfulness. So again, it's only through the moments of omniscience when Iago tells us what he's thinking that we can better understand his villainous intentions and behaviors. But again, that kind of that villain that you love to hate, I think a big part of that is omniscience. The fact that they may lie to everybody else, but they tell us the truth. And that's the case with Iago. That's the case with Claudius when he's trying to pray, when he tells us he's not sorry. It makes villains somewhat endearing when they share their thoughts with us through that omniscience. So that literary technique of omniscience, when analyzing point of view, is very effective for developing the plot and themes and also establishing trust from the readers, establishing that sense of ethos. Again, last thing I'll say about this, Iago lies to everyone else in the play, but he doesn't lie to us and he doesn't lie to himself. And that's why his soliloquies are so important. May love's quick pants in Desdemona's ours give renewed fire to our extincted spirits and bring all Cyprus comfort. Right? Everybody's going to be happy when they're in each other's arms again. Aside from Brabantio, Roderigo, and Iago, everybody else seems to be very happy that Othello and Desdemona are together. Remember what the Duke said, this tale would win my daughter. When he tells Brabantio, he says, I think my daughter would have fell in love with him too. So then, right, Desdemona refers to him as valiant Cassio. We see there's a friendship here. And as we'll learn later in the play, Cassio helped Othello woo Desdemona. I don't think he charged him money for it, like Iago is charging Roderigo money to help him woo Desdemona. I think Cassio is a genuine friend both to Desdemona and Othello. And I think that this scene is important because it establishes his ethos as a gentleman. As we kind of let it, and so now Iago's wife comes in. Let it not gall your patience, good Iago, that I extend my manners, right? 'Tis my breeding that gives me this bold show of courtesy. Excuse me, that's Cassio saying that when he kisses Emilia. Now, again, the play takes place in Italy, and Cassio is a Venetian. He's Italian, and very, customary in that culture to kiss people hello. Now, Iago recognizes this and realizes that this is something that will help him further his manipulation. He says, sir, would she give you so much of her lips as of her tongue she oft bestows on me? You'll have enough. Again, we see Iago's views of women in this scene. If you wanted to look at this play from a gender perspective, from a feminist critical perspective, and look at the expectations and actions and behaviors and gender roles forced upon women, to look at it through the lens of fallacies, of double standards, of hasty generalizations, of poisoning the well, to look at discrimination and stereotyping. This is a great scene because we see Iago's misogynistic views here. And kind of she's rejects. She says, you have little reason to say. Desdemona sticks up for Amelia, but we see that Iago is not very nice to his wife in public. And Desdemona then says, what would you say if you had something nice to say, right? Because Amelia says, you have nothing nice to say about me. And he says, no. I mean, he really is just a misogynistic jerk. And it's in public in front of everyone, right? And she says, what would you say about me? Desdemona says, do not put it to me, for I am nothing if not critical. Now, remember in the opening pages of the book, I believe it's page 3, the definition of critical thinking, they said, don't think of it in terms of critical meaning fault finding. Think of it as discerning or discriminating thought characterized by careful analysis and judgment. Logos. But here he means it fault finding. And she says, come on, there's got to be something good, right? So she says, what if a woman what would you say about a woman if she were, right, ugly and smart? And he says, if she be black and thereto have a wit, she'll find a white that shall her blackness fit, right? If someone's smart, even if she's ugly, right, she'll still use her intelligence, right? And Desdemona says, worse and worse, right? And Amelia says, how if fair and foolish? What if she was, instead of ugly and smart, what if she was foolish but pretty? And he says, she never yet was foolish that was fair, for even her folly helped her to an heir. Well, she'll use her looks to find a husband, whereas the ugly woman who's smart will use her intelligence to find a husband. Essentially, what is he saying? That all women manipulate, right? And Desdemona says, these are old fond paradoxes to make fools laugh in the alehouse, right? These are, stories you tell, drinking stories. Remember, though, everything that Iago says rhymes. And when Shakespeare has something really important to say, he makes it rhyme. So it's very interesting. Both of these responses tell us how Iago feels about women. And he's very negative and misogynistic, right? And she says, what if she was ugly and not smart? And he says, there's none so foul and foolish thereunto, but does foul pranks which fair and wise ones do. Well, she'll still use the same pranks. Again, this notion of duplicity, this lack of trust. We see his anger and his distrust of women. And what does Desdemona say? Oh, heavy ignorance. Absolutely. His world views regarding women are not logical. They're not empathetic. They don't demonstrate Rogerian strategy. He is discriminatory. He is rude. He is misogynistic, right? And she says, what if it was someone who had no bad qualities, a truly deserving woman? He says, she that was ever fair and never proud, had tongue at will and yet was never loud, never lacked gold and yet never went gay, fled from her wish and yet said, now I may, that she being angered, her revenge being nigh, bade her wrong stay and her displeasure fly. She that in wisdom never was so frail to change the cod's head for the salmon's tail. She that could think and near disclose her mind, see suitors following and not look behind. She was a wit, if ever wits were. So what if she was smart? What if she was pretty? What if she was logical? What if she was fair to people? What if she didn't lie? She didn't manipulate, right? And he says, if that woman ever exists, right, she would do what? To suckle fools and chronicle small beer. And again, this is one of the few times that the translation's really, really helpful. Chronicle small beer, again, this idea of clipping coupons, doing woman's work, raising babies and attending, right, to the duties. Again, we see his misogynistic feelings, if you would. And she says, most lame and impotent conclusion, right? That's illogical, right? So again, Cassio then takes Desdemona's hand. Again, remember, he kissed Emilia hello. Notice the omniscience of Iago. He lets us know how he's going to use Cassio's Italian charm, if you would, and his warmth as it's cut in his face and kiss people hello. He's going to manipulate it, right? Remember, the aside tells us that this is omniscience, right? So point of view. He takes her by the palm. "Aye, well said, whisper. With as little a web as this, I will ensnare as great a fly as Cassio. I smile upon her. I will give thee in thine own courtship." Right? Now, with as little a web as this, I will ensnare as great a fly as Cassio. That figure of speech, antithesis, opposition, is used when you want to emphasize things. So with as little a web, I will ensnare as great a fly, because those words are in opposition. So he's setting up how small this gesture is going to help him, right, in the big picture, right? I smile upon her. I will give thee in thine own courtship, right? So again, the fact that Cassio is smiling and he's affectionate, going to manipulate that. And this brings us back to the ideas of masculinity and affection. And should you wear your heart on your sleeve, or will you be taken advantage of? Remember, Iago said that in Act 1, in the opening scene. He's going to use Cassio's openness and freeness with his emotions to take advantage of him. So yet another theme pervading the play. As we move forward with this scene, we can see just how manipulative Iago is. I'm going to pause it for now, and we'll pick back up here after this quote in the next video for Act 2, Scene 1, because this is a very busy, if you would. There's a lot to talk about in Act 2, Scene 1. So stay tuned, more to come. I'm going to push pause, and we'll make this 2 separate videos so that you also can navigate the lecture easier. Thanks for listening and watching, and let me know if you have any questions, as always.